by Sri Lanka's best internet package for online learning and online working with many amazing offers. Call 1212 for more information. Sri Lanka Telecom.
ලෙන්ගතුකම වැඩි කරගන්න ලව්ජු රුපියල් 50ට අඩු කළා.
මාමේ එන්න අපිට එකක් බොමු.
Tightening news, another mega drug network busted. Easter PCOI findings. Pulastini Mahendran's mother says her daughter was forcibly converted to Islam. Necessary action. The president intent on appointing a committee with representation of Buddhist clergy to deliberate changes to the Antiquities Ordinance. All that and much more coming up on First at 9. This Saturday, the 25th of July, 2020.
From AdaDerana, this is AdaDerana First at 9.
Nava Sunlight Sakura. Then Dikukal Pavatina Sakura Mal Suandin.
Live from Studio 24 in Colombo.
Good evening and welcome to First at 9. I'm Dhamika Kanak. Let's start with your local stories. Now, the police have unravelled a drug racketeering network which maintained a bank account of 1.8 billion rupees while also arresting 6 suspects. They said that the arrest of a suspect who was in possession of over 1 kilogram of heroin from the area of Bokundara led to the discovery of the drug network and the vast sum of money.
The anti-corruption unit of the Mirihana Police Division apprehended a drug racketeer and seized 1 kilogram and 40 grams of heroin along with 1 million rupees in possession. The police stated that they were also able to arrest the main drug racketeer through information obtained from the suspect that was taken into custody by the Mirihana police. The police meanwhile had also identified a drug network which dispatched narcotics and collected money. 7 persons had been involved in the racket selling drug in the areas of Mount Lavinia and Muratua. Police media spokesperson SSP Jalia Senaratna said that while they were able to take 6 persons of the network into custody, the master of the operation, however, was already behind bars and was orchestrating the racket from within prison walls. In the meantime, the police managed to apprehend the excise officer who had fled the scene when the police arrested a group of persons including another excise officer in the Putlam town who had 125 grams of heroin in their possession. The police also found the vehicle used by the suspect to flee. The suspect was produced before the Putlam Magistrates Court and the court gave permission to the police to detain the suspect for 72 hours and interrogate him. Meanwhile, the police took 7 persons who had thrown heroin and other illegal substances over the Negombo prison wall into custody. The police stated that the main suspect of the incident is an individual named Rukshan Nilanga and that 2 women are also among the arrested suspects. 1 out of the 2 women is identified as Chalani Bhagya, a resident in the area of Colombo 14, while the other is identified as 28-year-old Dilini Sitara, a resident in the area of Negombo. The police said that 127 grams of heroin, 4 kg of Kerala cannabis and 300 narcotic pills were found from suspects' houses. The suspects will be produced before the Negombo Magistrates Court tomorrow. Meanwhile, the police special task force raided an illegal firearms manufacturer in the area of Rattagala of Imbulana in Ruanvalla and arrested a 50-year-old suspect. Police discovered 3 foreign 12-bore firearms, 2 locally manufactured 12-bore shotguns, another locally manufactured firearm, a .2 revolver, another firearm which uses T56 ammunition, and several other weapons. The police said that they discovered more equipment used to make weapons, 10 T56 ammunition, 1 MMG ammunition, and 12 rounds of a 12-bore firearm. In other developments, a Class 2 jailer named Kalinga Kaluaggala, who had allegedly provided facilities to the inmates at the Negombo prison and was in hiding, surrendered to the Criminal Investigations Department last night. After being produced before the Negombo Magistrates Court, the suspect was ordered to be remanded until the 29th of July. The suspect is reportedly sent to undergo quarantine at the Busa prison. In the meantime, despite 3 days being passed since a warrant was issued for the arrest of former superintendent of the Negombo prison, Anuruddha Sampayo, he is yet to be apprehended. Meanwhile, two persons who removed two wheels from a lorry parked outside the Police Narcotics Bureau, which was taken into custody with 50 grams of heroin, was arrested by the police. One of the two is a police constable and they were caught in the act on CCTV.
Now, CCTV footage shows that the drug addict who fled from the infectious disease hospital yesterday had been on various roads before arriving at the National Hospital. Police said he had also broken into a house and stolen clothes in the process.
Through CCTV footage that was obtained, the drug addict that escaped from the IDH yesterday was identified to have frequented many areas in Angoda before coming to the Colombo National Hospital. CCTV footage showed that the suspect, identified as Mohammad Kazim Mohammad Nazim, was seen frequenting the road of Mandavila from Halgahadenia at 2:23 am in a pair of shorts and a t-shirt. He is then seen stopping near a house, taking his slippers in hand and walking back down the same road. The suspect then enters a garden of a house. CCTV footage showed the suspect later entering the road placed on the left side of the house at 2:45 am and showed that the COVID-19 infected person had spent a total of 20 minutes within the premises of the house. The clothes that were worn by the suspect at the time was found on the roof of the house. The suspect was in for 20 minutes. The Valikara and Mulleriava police officers inspected the premises today and the house was disinfected. A CCTV camera at the Angoda junction had recorded how he was travelling on a bicycle at around 3:21 am yesterday after stealing clothes from the house he was in earlier on the Mandavila road in Halgahadenia. Meanwhile, a total of 5 COVID-19 patients were confirmed from within the island today, taking the country's overall number of active cases to 655. The country's total number of recoveries rose to 2,103 after 9 patients were discharged from hospital today. In the meantime, 11 COVID-19 patients were confirmed from the island yesterday.
Corona virus පැතිරීම වළක්වන්න සබන් යොදා දෑත් සෝදන්න.
In the meantime, moving on with other stories, President Gotabaya Rajapaksa is intent on appointing a committee with the representation of members of the Buddhist clergy to deliberate necessary changes to the Antiquities Ordinance. This was divulged when the Buddhist Advisory Council met with members of the clergy, revealing that the building, which was controversially demolished in Kurunegala, had nothing to do with King Buwanakabahu, as suggested by some.
The Buddhist Advisory Council met last evening for the 9th time at the Presidential Secretariat under the patronage of President Gotabaya Rajapaksa. Members of the clergy from the 3 sects joined the council in the discussion.
පුරාවිද්‍යා දෙපාර්තමේන්තුවෙන් බලාපොරොත්තු වෙන්නේ මේ සඳහා සැලැස්මක් මොන ආකාරයෙන් සිදුවිය යුතුද කියන කාරණය ඉදිරිපත් කරන්න. ඒවා පිළිබඳ කැණීම් සහ මෘතාපනය කිරීමට ප්‍රථමයෙන් මේවා හඳුනාගෙන ආරක්ෂා කිරීම කුඩා කාලයක් තුලදී අපිට කරන්නට පුළුවන් දෙයක්. අපි මුලින්ම කළ යුතුයි. මෙහිදී කියවුණු පරිදි පුරාවිද්‍යා පනත සංශෝධනය කිරීම ඉතාමත්ම වැදගත් කියලා මම හිතනවා. මෙහිදී යෝජනා වුණු පරිදි ගරුතර ස්වාමින් වහන්සේලාගෙන් සමන්විත කොමිටියක් පත් කිරීම තාමත්ම සුදුසුයි. අද අපි ඉන්න පුරාවිද්‍යා කොමසාරිස්තුමා තුළ හොඳ ආකල්පයක් තිබෙන නිසා මේවා ක්‍රියාත්මක කිරීම ඉතාමත්ම පහසු වෙයි. අපේ නායක ස්වාමින් වහන්සේ සමග කූරගල ගිය වෙලාවේ මම දැක්ක දෙයක් තමයි එතන ඒ සියලු දේවල් සිද්ධ වෙලා තියෙන අතර එතන පුරාවිද්‍යා කාර්යාලයක් තියෙද්දි තමයි ඒවා සිද්ධ වෙලා තියෙන්නේ. මේවා ආරක්ෂා කරන ඉන්න ස්වාමින් වහන්සේලාට හුඟක් කරදර ඇති වෙලා තිබෙනවා. විශේෂම උතුරු සහ නැගෙනහිර ප්‍රදේශවල මේ ස්ථාන හඳුනාගෙන ඒවට ප්‍රථමයෙන්ම ආරක්ෂාව දෙන්න අපිට පුළුවන්. මොකද ඒ පළාත්වල අපේ ත්‍රිවිධ හමුදාවේම කඳවුරු තියෙන නිසා.
274ක් තියෙනවා උතුරේ පුරාණ සිද්ධාස්ථාන. මේ වෙනකොට 4ක් කෝවිල් කරලා ඉවරයි. සමලංකුළුම පුරාවිද්‍යා භූමිය ඕමන්ද ඉස්කෝලේ ඉස්සරහා තිබුණා පුදබිමක් ඒකත් සම්පූර්ණ විනාශ කරලා ඉවරයි. නෙළුක්කුළුමට පුරාවිද්‍යාවෙන් වෙන් කරලා තිබුණා අක්කර 5ක්. නිලධාරියෙකුත් පත් කරලා හිටියා. දැන් මේ වෙනකොට චෛත්‍ය භූමියේ පාදමට අල්ලා වැසිකිලි හදාගෙන ඉන්නවා මිනිහෙක්.
මහත් වූ ආందోලන පත් වෙලා තියෙන ඓතිහාසික බෝනෙකබා රාජමහා ගොඩනැගිල්ල කඩා දැමීම. මේක රාජ්‍යරුවන්ගේ සම්බන්ධ ශාලාවක් කියලා තමයි දැන් මුළුමනින්ම කියන්නේ. පට්ටපල් බොරුවක් ඇත්ත වශයෙන් මේ බෝනෙකබා රාජමාලිගා ගොඩනැගිල්ලක් මේ ස්ථානයේ නැහැ. මේ ගොඩනැගිල්ල ඇත්ත වශයෙන්ම අපේ කුරුණෑගල තියෙන සියලුම ගොඩනැගිලි ඉංග්‍රීසියෙන් කාලේ නිර්මාණය වෙච්ච ඒවා. පුළුවන් නම් මේ කොටසේ ඇත්ත වශයෙන් අපිට පුරාවිද්‍යාත්මක කටුගයක් නිර්මාණය කරන්න ওই කොටස් අරගෙන.
We will see you shortly after this break. Stay tuned.
Enjoy a very smooth shave with the Bic Easy 2 razor. Bic Easy 2.
Welcome back. You're watching First at 9. Now, people who are in quarantine centres and those undergoing self-isolation will get the opportunity to vote in the general election of 2020 on the 31st of this month. This was confirmed by the Election Commission today following talks between political party representatives, the Government Medical Officers Association and the Public Health Inspectors Association at the Election Commission. Now, during the talks chaired by the Election Commission Chairman Mahinda Deshapriya, the focus fell on the voting process pertaining to those at quarantine centres and in self-isolation owing to the COVID-19 pandemic.
නිරෝධායන මධ්‍යස්ථානවල ඡන්ද විසීම ජුලි 31 වෙනිදා තියන්නත් දැනට යෝජනා වෙලා තිනවා. ඒ හෝම් ක්වොරන්ටයින් අයට ඡන්ද විමසීම ජුලි මාසේ 31 වෙනිදා තියනවා කියලා. අපි ජංගම ඡන්ද මධ්‍යස්ථාන යොදවනවා එම ප්‍රදේශවල. නිරෝධායන මධ්‍යස්ථාන වලට නියෝජිත වෙන්න පුළුවන්. ඒ වගේම ජංගම ඡන්ද මධ්‍යස්ථාන නිරීක්ෂණය සඳහා නියෝජිත වෙන්න පුළුවන්. දේශපාලන පක්ෂවල නිරීක්ෂණ සංවිධාන වලට. ඒ කියන්නේ ඡන්ද වලට නියෝජිතයන් යවන්න පුළුවන්.
මේ දැන් හෝම් ක්වොරන්ටයින් කරන තැන්වල ඡන්ද අක්කමිතා කරන්න පුළුවන් කමක් වෙයි කියලා.
කොහොමද කාටවත් තොර ඡන්ද දාන්නේ? හැඳුනුම්පත් බලලා. ඉතින් දේශපාලන පක්ෂවල නියෝජිතයන්ට එන්න පුළුවන්. තරම් කරන අයට. ඒක කිසි ප්‍රශ්නයක් නැහැ. හැබැයි කිසිම මාධ්‍ය ආයතනයකටවත් ඒ ණයටවත් ඒ ක්වොරන්ටයින් කරපු නිවාසවල තොරතුරු ඒ කවුද ඡන්දදායකයෝ කියන ඒවා ඡායාරූප ගන්නවත් තොරතුරු ප්‍රසිද්ධ කරන්නවත් තහනම්.
දැන් මේ වෙන විට මහජන සෞඛ්‍ය පරීක්ෂකවරු මේ මැතිවරණ ක්‍රියාවලියෙන් ඉවත් වෙලා තියෙනවා.
මැතිවරණ ක්‍රියාවලියෙන් ඉවත් වෙලා නැහැ කිසි කෙනෙක්. ඔවුන් සහතික වෙනවා මැතිවරණයට අදාළ කිසි දෙයක් බාධා වෙන දෙන්නේ නැහැ කියලා.
ශ්‍රී ලංකා මහජන සෞඛ්‍ය පරීක්ෂකවරුන්ගේ සංගමය මැතිවරණ කොමසාරිස්වරයාට පොරොන්දු වෙලා තියෙනවා මෙම ඡන්ද කටයුතු සඳහා පූර්ණ සහයෝගය ලබා දෙනවා කියලා.
Now, Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa meanwhile insists that there was no people-centric action by the government over the last 5 years, with the prime focus on political vengeance. His comments came on the campaign trail in Badulla.
An election propaganda event organised in support of Badulla district candidate Udit Lokubandar of Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna was worked off in the area of Atampitiya of Haliyala under the patronage of Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa yesterday.
මේ රටේ ජනතාවට කිසිම වැඩක් කරපු නැති යුගයක්. ඒ යුගය තුල අපි දැක්කේ මොකද්ද? පලි ගැනීම හැර වෙන කිසි දෙයක් දැක්කේ නැහැ. අපේ දරුවෝ අරගෙන ගියා හිරගෙවල් වල. අපේ මන්ත්‍රීවරු අරගෙන ගියා හිරගෙවල් වලට. ඒවා හිරගෙවල් වල ගිහිල්ලා දාලා මාස ගණනක් ඒ අය ප්‍රශ්න කරා. අපි වෙලිච්චා. මාව කොමිෂන් දෙකකටද කොයිද කියන්නේ චාම්දුරෝනේ. ඉතින් අපිට මුණ දෙන්නේ හිම යුගයක්. ගිය අවුරුදු 5. ඒ අවුරුදු 5 අපිට අමතක කරන්න පුළුවන් කමක් නැහැ. දේශපාලන වශයෙන් ගත්ත පලි ගැනීම කෙනෙහිලිකම් අපිට අමතක කරන්න පුළුවන් කමක් නැහැ.
With the polls team, leader of the United National Party Ranil Wickremesinghe insists that there is no option other than to expel those who break away from the party. Addressing an election propaganda event, the UNP leader said that the Samagi Janabalavege is hoodwinking the people by advertising themselves in green when their registered colour is in fact blue. Meanwhile, former UNP MP Navin Disanayake today expressed his aspirations of becoming the party leader during a propaganda event in Nuwara.
නායකතුමාට සිංහයක් තියෙනවා වගේ අපි සියලු දෙනාටම සිංහ තියෙනවා. වයසට යන ඉස්සෙල්ලා 60 වෙනි ඉස්සෙල්ලා අපි අපේ සිහින සැබෑ කරන්න අවශ්‍යයි. එම නිසා මගේ බලාපොරොත්තුව ඔබතුමාත් එක්ක අත්වල බැඳගෙන මේ ගමන යන්න. ඔබතුමාගෙන් පස්සේ නායකත්වය මමත් බලාපොරොත්තු වෙනවා. ඒකට ඔබතුමාගේ සපෝට් එකක් මට අවශ්‍ය නැහැ. ඔබතුමා නියුට්‍රල් ඉන්න ඒ ෆයිට් එකේ. ඔබතුමා ස්වාධීන වෙන්න. ඒ ඔබතුමාම 2011 නායකත්වයේ ගත්ත විදිහට 94 නායකත්වයේ ගත්ත විදිහට ඉතාමත් ප්‍රජාතන්ත්‍රවාදී විදිහට අනාගත නායකයෝ අපි තෝරන්න අවශ්‍යයි.
Another propaganda event of the UNP was conducted in the Uva Paranagama area of the Badulla district yesterday.
දැන් සමහරු කියනවා එක්සත් ජාතික පක්ෂ දෙකක් තියෙනවා. අභියාචනා මහාධිකරණය දුන්න තීන්දුව කවුරුවත් වෙනස් කරන්න යන්නේ නැහැ. වෙනත් පක්ෂයකට බැඳෙනවා නම් අපිට විරුද්ධව අපේක්ෂකයන් දානවා නම් මොකක්ද ඒ අයට මම කරන්න ඕනේ? ඒ අයට කවුරු උදව් කරනවා නම් දෙකේ එක UMP නම් UMP ඉන්න. අනික බලන්න ලියාපදිංචි කරලා තියෙන පක්ෂ පාට නිල් පාට කියලා. හැමතැනම දානවා කොළ පාට. ඒකත් වංචාවක් නේද?
Now, Colombo district candidate of the Samagi Janabalavege, Dr. Harshadi Silva, observes that irrespective of which faction comes to power following the looming general election, reviving the country's economy will not be an easy task. Speaking to Indiviri Amuatta on our current affairs program at Hyde Park on AdaDerana 24, the former parliamentarian said that unlike previous years, the island faces both internal and external issues, unlike last year, where it was only limited to an internal issue in the shape of the Easter Sunday terror attacks.
We see a lot of changes happening in Sri Lanka in line with the challenges that the entire world is facing surrounding COVID-19. What is your observation for Sri Lanka?
No matter who's going to get elected, things are not going to be easy, particularly because of the downturn in the global economy. But we see some pickup in certain areas. So we have to navigate this ship really carefully. As an economist, I see many complications going forward.
So when you say complications and a storm in terms of the country's economy, is this based on policies Sri Lanka has taken, or is this in the midst of the global challenges?
Not every country is going to feel the pain the same. Some countries would come back up faster than others. It all depends on how strong the country was before it entered the coronavirus situation. Unfortunately, we were not in a good position to start off with. We were running what we call twin deficits. One internally, where we cannot bridge our deficit locally. We spend a lot more than we earn. And external deficit, which has to be resolved externally.
Former Finance Minister Mangala Samaravira's tenure. It was during this time that Sri Lanka experienced one of the lowest GDP growth rates, 2.2%. This is during the time that you were a prominent figure.
Of course, that is true. The growth hit 9.1% in 2012. In 2013, during Mr. Rajapaksa's government, the growth rate fell from 9.1 to 3.5.
Wasn't that due to the rebasing of GDP figures?
Absolutely not. Every 5 years or so, the GDP has to be rebased. It is nothing political. Every country rebases its GDP calculation. Some countries do it annually, some countries do it every 3 years, some countries do every 5 years. These are technical matters, but it fell to 3.5.
How do you explain
let me finish.
Fall? Yes,
let me finish.
If you can also add to the reasons surrounding the fall.
That is why I said it was a debt-fueled, construction-led growth. Right? So those have limits. The structure wasn't sustainable. It was a balloon that burst, because in economics there are equations that you need to look at. So you can't just wish the economy to grow. It doesn't happen like that. Unless you are able to create efficiencies, create competitiveness, create growth in a sustainable manner, it rose to 4.5 and 5. And it has always been at those rates. But unfortunately, we had the 2018 October coup. With that, a budget was not presented till April of 2019. And then soon after that, there was the Easter bombs. That sort of shattered the economy. And with that, we registered a 2.5% growth. Of course, nothing to be happy about. Given all of that, 2017 and 18, Minister Mangala Samaraweera was able to show surplus in the primary account of the budget.
About 2020, now the current situation, you keep saying that Sri Lanka is heading into a crisis. 2019, there was no food crisis, there was no oil crisis, there was no international crisis that marred any growth in Sri Lanka.
Yes, that's right, but it was an internal issue in 2019. Now we have an internal issue plus an external issue. From what I understand, growth in the first quarter of 2020 is minus. I challenge the government to show the growth figure for 2020 first quarter. And you can't use COVID-19 for that because the country shut down 20th of March. And we are talking about the time period from 1st of January to 31st of March.
We will see you shortly after this break. Stay tuned. Welcome back. You're watching First at 9. Now, Rasaratnam Kavitha, the mother of Pulastini Mahendran alias Sarah Jasmine, the wife of the Katuapita suicide bomber, was summoned today before the Presidential Commission of Inquiry probing the Easter spate of terror. The witness stated that her eldest daughter, Pulastini Mahendran, attended a tuition class after passing her GCE ordinary level examination, obtaining 8 A's and a B pass. The mother revealed before the commission that her daughter did not return home after attending a tuition class on the 29th of July in 2019 while she was employed in Abu Dhabi at the time. Now, the mother had then called the grandmother of Pulastini asking her to lodge a complaint at the Kalavanchikulam police station. Testifying before the commission, she said that an individual identifying himself as Abdul Razik had contacted the uncle of Pulastini, confirming that Pulastini is under their custody, while also revealing that Pulastini was converted to Islam. The mother noted that after locating Pulastini, she managed to bring Abdul Razik and her daughter to the Maligavatta police station, following which the police told the mother that she will be able to have her daughter only if the daughter resumed Hindu religious activities with a 15-day period. The witness said that she had boarded a bus and left for home with her daughter after being informed by the police that her daughter should be returned to Abdul Razik after 15 days if she fails to resume Hindu religious activities. The witness went on to say that despite Pulastini resuming Hindu religious activities, Abdul Razik had got Pulastini married to Hastun, the suicide bomber of the Katuapitiya church. Now, the Central Bank of Sri Lanka has recently entered into an agreement with the Federal Reserve Bank, New York, as a temporary source of US dollar liquidity to be used when required. As part of the contingency plans to meet COVID-19 related difficulties, the CBSL has decided to pledge a sum of $1 billion worth of US Treasury bonds held in the CBSL reserve and enter into their repo facility with the Fed. This would permit the CBSL to raise $1 billion in cash from when required. When this repo facility is settled by the CBSL, there will be no change in the CBSL reserve position as the Fed would release the pledged bonds back to the CBSL. The cost of the CBSL would be applicable to repo fee, which is about 0.35% per annum. The CBSL has entered into this agreement with the Fed, but no borrowings have yet been made. Withdrawing from the facility at any point is at the discretion of the CBSL. Now, meanwhile, the Reserve Bank of India has signed necessary documents for extending a $400 million currency swap facility to the central bank. This currency swap arrangement will remain available until November of 2020. 3 people have died after a Microlight aircraft crashed into a home in Wiesel in northwestern Germany. The identities of the dead are not yet known. Images show severe damage to the roof of the home, with emergency workers attending a now extinguished fire. The Microlight aircraft had taken off from Marl airfield with 2 occupants and landed again in Wiesel for a stopover. Now, France is set to introduce on-the-spot fines nationwide for drug users, particularly targeting cannabis starting from September. The announcement made by the French Prime Minister comes amid concerns about drug-related violence. The rollout of fines follow tests in cities such as Rennes and Marseille. The €200 fixed fine will reduce to €150 if paid within 15 days. And that's it from all of us here at First at 9. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.